of a Black Game Dev! We are super stoked to have y'all here today. We're here with Black and Gaming. We're going to dive into that a little bit before we get started. Introduce myself. My name is Mia Ginaé Watkins. I am a creative operations coordinator over at Riot Games, League of Legends, Valorant. Thank you. I support the creatives on our team, and we do the best I can to make sure they create cool stuff. I'm your hostess with the mostest. I've been in the game industry for almost 7 years now, previously at PlayStation. So yeah, I've been around the block a little bit. So I'm really happy to moderate this lovely panel here today. But first, a word from our sponsors. So we are supported by Black and Gaming. Now, some of y'all might have heard about Black and Gaming, but for those that are like, what is Black and Gaming? We are a thriving community dedicated to fostering and empowering Black game developers in the space, getting more people into the industry, elevating those people into the industry. One of the ways we elevate them is through the Black and Gaming Awards, which happen at GDC, or the Game Developers Conference, every year. And so these awards honor all the amazing folks just doing cool, amazing things in the gaming industry, all the amazing Black inventors, creators, content creators, talent, voice actors. We give them all those awards. So if you go to GDC, please check us out. We do lots of cool stuff. And if you would like to learn more about Black and Gaming, please scan this wonderful code. Some of y'all might have it physically in your hand, but if you're interested and want to learn more, if you want to join our forces, we would love to have you. We'll have this up later so y'all can scan more and all that fun jazz. So thank you to Black and Gaming. Let's hear it for Big. And now, our amazing panelists. We're gonna start with James on the left. So I'll have y'all introduce yourselves as you go down the line. Thank you so much for the water. And go ahead and just share what you do and where you at. So.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Sam. I'm an associate animation director at Insomniac Games. I've been in the industry for almost 8 years now, and 7 of those years have been with Insomniac.
Hey, I'm Kevin Powell. I'm a senior systems designer at Airship Syndicate. I've been in games for about 13 years. I just like to make cool stuff.
Hi, I'm Danielle Wallace. I'm a 3D environment artist at Heart Machine, stylized 3D environment artist. I've been in the industry for 3 years and some change now, and happy to be here, and thank you guys for coming out. Let's go,
Hey, what's up, y'all? Tim Staton-Davis. I'm hailing from Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been in the industry for about 6 years. Technical game designer currently at an upcoming studio called Brasslion Entertainment. We're Black and brown, POC owned, majority women owned as well. Studio, working on our first game, and we have some good stuff in store for y'all. So.
Hello, my name is Adanna Nedd. I'm a games writer and narrative designer at Softnut. We currently making Spirit Swap. I've been a game developer for 3 years, and it's so excited to see so many people at this panel.
Thank y'all so much. Oh, sorry, not yet. My first question for y'all, let us know, how did you guys get your start in this industry? And feel free to just jump on the mic, or I can pick you myself, or whatever you guys are down with. Just let them know, what was the catalyst for you to get into this industry?
You want to start from down and go around?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm the odd one out because I originally started in games research at Penn State. My research project was studying how players of color would buy in-game skins in games like Overwatch and Fortnite, and we were looking at whether players of color would pay more money to get skins that look like themselves, because I don't know if y'all played Overwatch, but there are not a lot of people that look like me. So we found from our research was that even though that most players go for aesthetic purposes, a majority of players did want more diverse skins in games. And after that, I realized I hated writing research papers, but I did still love writing for games. So I pivoted and now write for a lot of indie projects. So that's me.
All right, try to give the short version, I guess. I like to say I've been making games since like middle school. We started making JRPGs on RPG Maker back in the day, real basic shit. And then went to the illustrious Howard University for undergrad, where I did computer science, and went to grad school where I focused on entertainment and technology and started making virtual reality stuff and all kinds of other tech stuff. So that's kind of where I really started to actually like make games that actually did something. Graduated from there and then started my first gig at Monolith Productions, working on a Shadow of War in my first start in the industry, and did some like basic mission design stuff, and then kind of just been taking off since then, pretty much. So yeah, that's the way to put it.
I'm gonna try to do a short version as well, because I came from two nerd parents. My mom was actually in the animation industry. She worked on the children's cartoon, The Killer Tomatoes. So she inspired me to just like want to be a part of, if it was animation, I would have gone to games, because just once again, two nerd parents. My dad wanted to be a comic book artist, so like it was kind of inevitable at that point. But yeah, I grew up like playing Spyro. It's one of my favorite series, and I just loved the world, the design, how much could be told through the environment and story through narrative. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. Short version, a little bit after that. In college, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do specifically in games. I love programming as well as art. So I was like, I know I don't want to do programming, but I don't want to do it. I don't know what I want to do specifically in art. And then my junior year, we made a Katamari Damacy clone, if you guys know what that is. I love those games so much. And I had to make like 100 props in like a month, because our other environment artist just like went off and did whatever he was doing. So I did fill in the gap there. So that was kind of like my, like, you know what, I love making everything that is in the environment. And that was like the click for me, that I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so how I got my start, I mean, I played a lot of video games growing up. Like, just to be honest, yeah, I played maybe too much. I guess, yeah, my mom would definitely say that. But yeah, I remember distinctly, like when I was in high school, like I really hadn't thought about what I wanted to do in college. And then I remember so I'm from Savannah, Georgia. So we had this news story come out from WSAV. And I remember my mom, she was like, it was from Savannah College of Art and Design. They were like, we're opening up a game design like program. And I was like, all right, I want to do that. It's like, because I've been playing games. I also like to tinker around with, build computers, all that stuff. And so I was like, naturally, this is where I should be. So, had zero portfolio, anything like that. But I kind of just applied with a letter of intent, like, hey, I really want to do this. And I guess, they saw that, and I got accepted to SCAD. So went there, learned a lot about just different 3D packages, editors, game editors. And so I learned 3D art or level design and environment art. And so I actually ended up getting my start in the industry when I went to a random graduation party, and I feel like getting into games is a lot about like what you know, but also about who you know. And so I feel like I got kind of lucky with like going to this party, and then one of my friends, she just told me that the company she just got hired at was still looking for level designers. So I was like, of course, I just got done applying to like 100 other studios. So I was like, what's one more? So yeah. Pretty much applied to Hi-Res Studios, got an interview, and then yeah, they sent me an offer pretty shortly after that, and so that's kind of how I got my start.
All right, that was great. I got my start. I loved Dragon Ball Z growing up. That was a huge inspiration in my life, and I remember thinking I wanted to be a part of something like that. I wanted to be a part of something that had the same effect that Dragon Ball Z had on me. I want to have that effect on other people with my work. So that was a huge inspiration. Then I played God of War and Uncharted. Those kind of like shifted my mindset into what video games could be. Went to Full Sail, Graduated in computer animation, moved out to California and applied to a whole bunch of game development studios. Also applied to a lot of other studios for TV and movies and such. Originally, I wanted to work at Nickelodeon, work on Ninja Turtles. Never heard back, you know. But it's all good. But through that, I was able to apply to Naughty Dog, and that was my first job. Got to work on Uncharted 4 and been doing animation since. So.
Oh, do we have time to piggyback on that at all, or?
If you want, go ahead.
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Tim.
yeah.
I feel like I was doing the disservice to not also mention that, like, what Kevin, what KP had mentioned about, like, basically the who you know aspect of it. That was pretty huge for me as well when I first got in. Like, that first gig I got, that's also contributing to 2 years of going to conferences and, like, trying to sell my shit to other people and go to, like, talk to these other developers at these other studios, and then actually, like, meeting a recruiter who I got in contact with later that, like, actually gave me a chance to get my foot in the door and get that first gig. But up until then, I was just, like, shooting darts, you know what I'm saying? So that was a big piece of that. Yeah.
I'll piggyback off that as well. Yeah, like I was like, yeah, I'm definitely picking up the who you know thing, because I literally got my first industry, or more so indie one first. I was at Numinous Games before I was at Heart Machine, and I actually got that job because I kept posting my artwork on Twitter, right? Like, everyone's like, oh, I don't know if my stuff's good enough. I'm like, no, shoot your shot, like, do it. Even post work in progress if it's not done. Like, recruiters love seeing, like, oh, here's your process for how you got to where you are. And I actually had folks from Numinous Games reach out to me on Twitter and was like, hey, we love your work, and I got an email for that. So it's just like, post your stuff online. Go to, like Tim said, go to conferences. Like, it's so good to go to stuff like this, go to GDC, etc. And you don't even have to get a ticket. You can just, like, walk around. People go to parties there, and it's more so mixers and just literally just, once again, all free. And you could just, like, make connections there, because that's what they're there for. They're there to help students, people who are trying to break in, etc. And, like, those are the avenues to get in. Just talk to people. We'll be there too, and we're starting to see a whole lot more, like, Black faces there, which is incredible, if I'm being honest.
So following up with that, I'm gonna jump around with questions a bit. Now, once you got your foot in the door in the industry, who were your mentors? Who were the people actually lifting you up and helping you with your leg up in the industry? And we're gonna start with James.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
Yes, no, that's okay. I'm gonna wait real quick. The question was, who were your mentors in the industry once you got in?
Okay. I was very fortunate at Naughty Dog. I had a lead. His name was Jeremy Yates and Mike Yosh, and they were both great, very supportive. And I remember even in the interview process, it was a very interesting interview. I never talked about Dragon Ball Z in the interview, and that appealed to them. I was like, oh, this is the industry for me. I could talk about things that I'm actually passionate about. Since I've been in the industry, since I've been at Insomniac, my lead's been like Bobby Cowdington, and he's been amazing. But then also a lot of people I've met on Twitter. Like, I met a lot of these people on Twitter, and they inspire me quite a bit. But yeah.
All right, I'll go next. Yeah, mine is pretty quick. So when I first got in the industry, because this is back in 2010, it was like I was like maybe one of 2 or 3 Black people at the studio. And I didn't even know at the time, but the person that was really like a big mentor for me was this guy named Ben Knapp. He's a super dope character artist. I think he's the art director now at High Res. But yeah, he kind of just took me under his wing when I got in. It wasn't even on just, me, just allowing me to be like myself. It was like he was just kind of showing me like, hey, this is how a lead should be whenever, new people come into the industry. So he would, invite me out to all the things that were going on with, other coworkers and just like, give me a little bit of guidance. But then he also just encouraged me to like be myself, because he was like, everybody else here is lame. He was like, you are one of the coolest people that I've hung out with and everything. He's like, keep doing that. He was like, I can see your hunger, all that stuff. And so, yeah, I just really appreciate him kind of like taking me under his wing when I got in. And yeah, kind of like he pretty much set the standard for me whenever I try to, mentor people whenever I see someone new coming in the industry, if they hit me up. So, yeah.
I get the end of that. I agree with as well, super a lot, because I have a lot of people who reach out. Actually, it's genuinely surreal. I have a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Because they're like, "Oh, a black woman at a studio? Like, whoa!" Because we're not visible, right? If we are there, we're usually not visible. So I, like Kevin said, I usually like take time out of my day to like respond to everyone that I can, because I want them to have those avenues and that person to look up to, because we didn't have that growing up, right? Like we didn't see those people in the industry. And I've always tried to be visible for that reason, because we don't see us. In regard to mentor, Jasmine H, her last name is escaping me right now, but she works with Kevin actually at Airship. And once again, I reached out to her on Twitter, and also through some mutual friends, and was like, hey, I'd love some feedback on this piece. And I was already just like casual friends with her, and she just like took time out of her day to just be like, hey, here, improve this, which is like absolutely incredible. Especially not like being like, oh, here's a mentorship, pay like $2,000 or something. She literally just took time out of her day to help me, which is fantastic. And then when I got to Heart Machine, I was fortunate enough to have my art lead at the time. I didn't know how to do hard surface that well, like mechanical stuff. So he also just took time out of his day to just like teach me it. And he really didn't even have to. It's sometimes rare at studios to have that person who is like there for you to like, especially take time out of the work they're already supposed to be doing to pull you aside to do stuff like that. So Danny Moll is someone I look up to at the studio as well. He was one of the first people who got there who did that as well. So it just speaks to, once again, I'm like, reach out to people, don't be afraid to. We're here to help and lift you guys up. So yeah.
I'm kind of jealous of KP and James a little bit, because when I first joined studios in general, like AAA games, I have not gotten a single person that's been a kind of leader, mentor person for me. So I've had to find my own mentors since I got into the industry in whatever ways that felt right for me, and finding the people who I wanted to follow. So a lot of these folks have been either outside, like my boy Jamil back in the back, who's been a bit of like a business mentor for me since I joined the industry, and then otherwise like finding other people who are at indie studios, other studios who are leaders, who I'm like, I like how y'all do business, I like what y'all do, I like the way you design, so I want to learn from y'all, and just kind of, that's what I've been finding, pulling people in for that, for me personally. So that's like my personal, crew that I'm pulling from, so, yeah.
Yeah, my mentor personally was Kim Belair from Sweet Baby Inc. They're a narrative games company. She's a black woman in writing, and when I first reached out to talk to her, I had no idea what it took to become a writer in games. I had no idea how to make a portfolio, how to advertise yourself on Twitter, and then she took time out of her day, pulled me aside, and said, I see something in you, we're gonna help you get to where you need to be, and that's how I got some of my first gigs in games, so that was really, really dope.
Very important note. Thank you, Adanna. Please write down Sweet Baby Inc. and Kim Belair in your notes, whatever, because she's definitely one of the folks that we definitely look up to too, as well, in this industry. KP, you mentioned, someone mentioned you were cool, and that's obviously why you guys are on this panel, because you all have like this je ne sais quoi about you. But before we talk about the characters and the work you've done in the industry, what video game characters or figures inspired you? Who was the epitome of cool in video games for you? Who had that exaggerated swagger?
I think that this is a two-part answer for me, because like I have a couple of different characters that just are kind of near and dear to my heart. So First is like Mario and Luigi, just because it's like, because I just have a lot of fond memories of me playing with my brother and my dad like way back and everything. I even got it tattooed on my arm here. So yeah, but then also I want to say Donatello from the Ninja Turtles, just because he was a smart one. He always would find a way to like solve a problem through like technology. And like that to me was like really cool. And so like, especially like learning how to build computers and stuff like that. So that really kind of like resonated with me. So yeah, I think I have to give it to Donatello. Yeah.
We have a lot of Ninja Turtles fan here because I also love Ninja Turtles. 2003 forever, #1 Lego fan. Yes, but yeah, just seeing like them like just vibing and having a good time, and also beating up ninjas because that looked cool as hell as a kid. And the other two characters are Sonic, definitely, because especially running through with the J's everywhere. And do we have any Static fans in the room? Got everybody round up with that was saying.
He got the chain on right there.
Alright, I'll go. Yeah. Probably Kratos. I love Kratos, and I remember my first experience with it. I went to Best Buy. They still had games that you could play there for free, and I was like, "What's this game?" Press circle to grab an enemy. Pressed it, and he ripped somebody in half, and I was like, I didn't know you could do that. Kind of shocked me and threw me for a loop. I was like, I don't even know like that was possible. But like Kratos was big, and then also like I'm a big Kingdom Hearts fan, so I liked Sora, but like Riku was dope to me. It's like there was something about Riku that just his concept art and the way he carried himself was super dope. So yeah, like Riku and Kratos.
My answer's kind of short, because I love so many characters in several series. But another one for me was the Sly Cooper series.
Yes.
I think still to this day, that's like one of the most like unique franchises, and I wish they would continue it. But every character had its own personality, especially growing up reading comic books with my dad. The onomatopoeia for like, I still haven't seen another game do that, actually. The like boom, bang, pow of like when you hit something and it would actually show it and make the sound. And I want more games that are that unique and have that many like cartoonish characters that have their own personality and has such a incredibly well fleshed out universe like that. And it's just fun, vibrant, etc. It's why I'm a heart machine for being honest, vibrant stuff. But yeah, that's fine.
I want to quickly add to the Sly Cooper thing because I was also a big Sly Cooper fan as a kid, especially looking at it from a writer's standpoint because the way that the story ties into every environment that you play as and as the story continues, that's still one of the best examples of games writing and narrative design I've seen.
And somebody mentioned Sonic. I'm gonna throw my boy Shadow out there for me. So there we go. Now, yeah, we know there's a scarcity of Black video game characters out there. But if you could spend the day with any Black video game character, who would it be? And y'all might be carpooling, depending on how many characters we got.
I can start. I definitely hang with Kimberly from Street Fighter 6, like all the stuff. Like, yeah, I was gonna say Miles, but Miles gets jumped a bit too much for my liking. You know what I mean? Kidding, partly.
I'm gonna go back and say Eddie Gordo from Tekken. Partially because like I like Capoeira, he on the islands and shit. I feel like we have a good day out, kind of just chilling and like doing the thing, taking me to some good spots. He'd be a vibe.
I swear, I was like, when I was thinking about this question, I was like, all right, y'all pick fighting games. I was like, I don't know if I'm trying to get folded. Like, 'cause I don't know why I was thinking about like this is gonna be like a dangerous environment, but you're talking about like chilling on the beach. So, But yeah, I guess my answer would be from actually a really recent game called Dave the Diver. There's this black sushi chef called Bancho, and I don't know, it's just so cool because they have all these really cool like cutscenes where it's like if you upgrade a dish or something like that, it'll show up like this anime intro where he has a sword and everything. He's like, like unsheathes it and everything, and like cuts like a petal in half and stuff. And so yeah, I don't know, it's real cool. But yeah, every little cutscene and everything in that game is real cool. But yeah,
What was the name of that game?
it's called Dave the Diver. But yeah, it's Bancho, the sushi chef.
If you like Terraria or anything adjacent, then like you will love Dave the Diver. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
Is it cheating if I say Miles?
Biased, but
It's a little biased, but I mean, like, he's very adventurous, and like, I feel like we would just do a whole bunch of like cool stuff, and he would just be trying to do a lot of things. But if I can't say Miles, I'll probably go with Eddie Gordo as well, because dude's ripped, and I want to be on his whatever he's doing to get that body, like that would like teach me something. So I hang out with him.
Now, the name of this panel is called Exaggerated Swagger for Black Game Dev. Most of y'all know that is from a meme from the review from Miles Morales. Yep. Sorry, James.
That's a part of my life now.
And I'm curious, and this might be like a bit of a head scratcher, but when it comes to your exaggerated swagger, I know not y'all ain't jumping off rooftops and doing backflips and stuff. Maybe you are. I don't know your life.
I hope not. Health insurance
but
is down here.
what does that look like for you? What does exaggerated swagger look like for you?
So, I mean, for me personally, I actually did do parkour. I was jumping off roofs for a bit. No, I used to do parkour for a bit. So, like, anything that's active, going hiking and stuff like that. But also, I'm very much a fan of being comfortable in your own skin. So, if you like to dress a certain way, do that. I wear gym shorts all the time. Like, you see me in jeans, it's a special occasion. So, like, I like getting comfortable.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. Yeah, I think for me, really just like being okay with getting out of my comfort zone. It's like I used to be real scared to just like try different stuff for the longest time, and then like I don't know what like broke that habit, but like as soon as I did, I noticed that like I don't know, it's just like my worldview kind of changed a little bit, just like seeing all these different experiences and all that stuff. And so yeah, I really think just like whenever there's an opportunity or something that comes up, I always kind of like, I still have a little bit of apprehension, but I just kind of jump into it, like, you know, because like you always can like learn something from these different experiences and everything. And so that's what, you know, exaggerated swagger, I guess.
I'm gonna piggyback off that because I agree wholeheartedly. Like, as I've gotten older, I just feel like life is just all about stories and experiences. So like anytime you get a chance or opportunity to do something, even if you're not familiar with it, give it a shot. And then like, there's so much you can learn from that opportunity. And even if you don't like it, you at least know for a fact you don't like it, so.
I guess I'll also piggyback off of that because I love the standpoint of like being comfortable in your own skin. Because I actually, growing up, I was like incredibly shy up until like a little bit of college, because I finally started surrounding myself with several people who liked what I did, right? Like there's a lot of us nerds, as we can see from this con, but like growing up, it's kind of rare to find that, especially in regard to like some gaming stuff. So I don't know, I just want to say being able to, once again, be comfortable to reach out and connect with folks, and be personally getting more comfortable having people reach out to me and being like, no, this is what I wanted growing up. I want to help others achieve the same thing and feel comfortable doing it, and they can feel comfortable doing the same thing. So yeah.
For me, I'm big sweatpants, so I love sweatpants, comfy sweatpants, a lot of functional, so, you know, I like to lean into things that like feel like I'm an athlete, so anything that's kind of like athletics, but also a little stylish, and I'm feeling it, like that's kind of like the vibe I try to, you know, use, but I think lately as well, like, you know, swagger and like cool and style and whatnot. Those kinds of things also lean into culture for me in particular, like coming back to like my people, my family, where we're from, and so taking in more notes of those things and keeping those in what I wear, but also my spaces. is a really big thing that I've been leaning into a lot. So that's also been a big representation of that exaggerated swagger, I would say, lately. Yeah.
For me, exaggerated swagger looks a lot like not being afraid to shoot your shot and not self-selecting out even if you don't think you're going to be fit. And this isn't just for like positions in gaming, this is just for life in general, because you don't know exactly what they're looking for. They may have the requirements that they listed out, but they may have something that they haven't listed that is the biggest thing, and that might be something you have. So not being afraid to self-select out. Don't self-select yourself out. Let your work and your voice speak for itself.
I'm a piggyback off that, 'cause that's great. like legit. A lot of times, especially like applying for jobs and stuff, you'll see things listed as like you need 5 years experience, you need 10 years experience. I don't necessarily think that's true. I didn't get my start that way. When my first job was at Naughty Dog, and they were looking for someone that had 5 years experience. I had 0. But I still applied. Like I didn't try to self-select. I was like, let me give myself a shot, and like it paid off. So don't let that deter you. Don't let something outside of your control keep you from going after what you want.
Yes. Thank you all so much. And now we're going to get into a bit of fun. We're going to showcase what these lovely folks have made to contribute to our industry. The question is, tell us about a time where you took inspiration from your culture and everyday life and translated it into a game you're working on. And is there any person that wants to go first and I can show your stuff? Or I could just start with James, since yours. You want to talk about it first? And then
Yeah, talk real quick. So I grew up doing nerd stuff, Dragon Ball Z, playing Yu-Gi-Oh, Beyblade, all this type of stuff. But I was also doing athletic stuff. I was very much into like track, played football, played basketball. But ironically, going into gaming, in a way, I'm able to use all those past experiences and put them forth. So like a lot of times when animating Miles, I had him doing hurdles. I did hurdles. So like some of his tricks, I would pull inspiration from that. From playing football, the way he may attack someone, I would pull inspiration from that. But yeah, like I pulled a lot of things from just my past, from people I know that went through things. Like some of the handshakes he's done in the game. Some of them got pulled out, which I want to try to get back. Yeah, I just pulled a lot from people I know, inspiration, and just like things that I am familiar with, because that's what I know best, and that's how I feel like you would get the most authenticity shown in the character.
all right, and we got a little snippet of his work right now, so let's pull that up.
Thank you.
You know, James, the way he leaps off of rooftops and looks back at the camera just gives you exaggerated swag.
Yeah. Funny story about that. I love Spider-Verse as well, you know. But at that time, I was also doing parkour, and they had a foam pit, and I was like, let me see how it feels. And I tried to run and jump off and do it, and it's terrifying. It's terrifying. Like as I would jump, I could feel my heart. I'm like, oh, did I miss? And am I not gonna land in the foam pit? But I don't know, bringing that stuff and trying it out and really getting the feel for it really helped in creating that aspect. But yeah, it's a lot of fun making mounts. So.
Who's up?
I can go next.
All right.
One of the games I'm working on is called Spirit Swaps, Lo-Fi Beats to Match 3-2. It is a match 3 puzzle game that's fantasy with a lot of POC representation. And I think one of the coolest things that I got to do on that project is actually work with the artist to develop an unlockable character you will see soon. And one of the coolest things I got to do was use a lot of my Caribbean heritage in all of the design. So, do I have any island folks in here? Exactly. And another project I work on was Kiss You, and one of our characters is a black fairy called Lapis. And I think one of the cool things about that was, even though she was originally the vision that they had was very different, but then when I saw her, I realized I could tell a really cool story about what it means to really grow into yourself, especially as a black femme in college, and finding your passions and following those passions, even if your family doesn't agree with them. So that's going to be...
So we got your stuff up.
Oh, this is from a personal RPG I'm working on. Also, if you are starting out as a game dev, do not start your dream project first, because this started out as a portfolio piece that I made, and then I realized, wait, I can make the Caribbean anime RPG that I want to with enough time, money, and learning programming languages. So this is some of the promo art I've got for it. It's still in pre-development stuff, but trust, when it's ready, it will be here.
Cool. Thank you. Who's next?
All right. Let's see. So I think initially I wanted to start talking about some of my work on God of War Ragnarok that I've recently done. I don't have any real name yet like James, but I do have some screenshots of some of the areas I've worked on. So I worked on a lot, most of the Atreus combat levels, if y'all remember some of those. So the ones where he goes with, initially goes through with Thor, and they kind of unlock the mask together. There's a whole boss fight scenario. You can go to the next point. The whole area where you and Freya go to Midgard to meet the Norns, and all the sequences involved in that whole situation. It's a lot of stuff that makes that stuff work. And all of that, and the tricks behind that. I worked on all the combat encounters for that. We can keep going. This is also from that sequence as well. And this one, we have to find Atreus after he gets captured real quick, the fake capture. Through.
Did you want to show the video clips?
You can show, there's one video clip of this scenario, actually. And I guess that's one of the parts, when you're working on these big projects in particular that, are fantasy, when we talk about how we bring our own experience into those kinds of things, our own culture, it's all a little tricky sometimes. And so I often go back to, when it's not my own independent work, which I have some stuff that's on here for that, but for these kinds of projects, I often lean on what things that influence me, as far as other games. I'm a big fan of a lot of Bayonetta, Vanquish, some Platinum Games stuff, and trying to infuse some of these action kind of surprise moments into the gameplay. And for a game like God of War, it's all about surprise and keeping players on their toes over the course of this long game sequence. So in here, I try to do one of that where Kratos gets grabbed in this scenario unexpectedly, and it's just kind of reusing what tools that we had and trying to make something a little bit special just for this short moment that actually took hours to get right. It's really quick, so you just keep playing it. But
Atreus, I am coming!
Why didn't you trust your own son?
Yeah. So it's, I call that, so I call that, I'm taking like notes also from like, hip hop a little bit as far as like, how do I remix stuff to make something that's like, that we already have and make it new, and still keep it fresh, so those are those kinds of things I'm leaning on. You can go to the next one. But in some of the indie work that I do, I have a collective that I work with of game creators where we talk about like adding our personal, like the diaspora as a whole, and adding our own cultural influences into works and representing those things. So some of the stuff I've worked on in particular has been about, we did a recent project called the Spirit Crumble Party. We did this recently, which is like a Mario Party influence type game where we took, I'm really big on food, and in particular I cook a lot, and so we took like ideas from like bakeries and pound cake in particular, and infused it with like a solar punk kind of future world building. Like Afrofuturism is like, to me, is also solar punk. So taking those things and like making a scenario of like, what if, in the future, and pound cakes are growing all around the world, and you're collecting these things and these weird scenarios, but taking those notes from like culture. Also, last year we worked on a project called Spirit Ranger, and that one we took notes of Vodou and Hoodoo, like African spirituality, and that's like based in America in particular, and we wanted to represent that in a positive light. And start to bring that into like an interesting bit. So our main character is like a descendant of his family that deals with spirits and deals with like influencing their community. And it takes notes from like Katamari Damacy in terms of like collecting these spirits and bringing them back, and you get to talk with your ancestors and hear their stories and progressing the story as a whole. And it was really fun. We took notes from like compa music and other aspects from the islands and everything. So I love that stuff. So we try to find different ways to do that with our groups, and eventually doing more stuff like this. Like at Brasslion, we were doing a lot of things with just influences from the culture, New York hip hop, and all that. So yeah, that's it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can just play it first. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, preface. This is a trailer, gameplay trailer from Hyper Light Breaker, the game I'm working on currently. Yeah. I'm at our studio. I'm a 3D, like I said, 3D environment artist there. This was, like I said, one of our gameplay trailers showing off the world, like combat and a bunch of other stuff. But it'll speak for itself.
Let's get it.
Our audio folks are like cracked. Like they are absolutely fantastic. So I was a little loud. Hyped y'all up. But yeah, I've been there for 3 years since some change now. I don't really have as much specifics as everyone else in regard to being able to apply like personal like culture stuff into it, because most of the things I've worked on are more so kind of like, you know, like its own like unique world, etc. So I kind of incorporated just a little bit of like personal things I love, like games I've loved. Like I said, I grew up playing Spyro. Absolutely loved how vibrant the worlds were, and I've incorporated that into my art style and work, and which is why I got hired at Heart Machine. For my art test, I like went ham in on like all the like colors and et cetera, et cetera. I won't go into it because it's more NDA, but. But yeah, so I'll go through a couple of these. This is a Cycom shop I made, so I'll just go through a couple of environment works. So I get to make everything from hard surface and organics, so all the plant stuff, mechanics, buildings, etc. Made everything in this. This one actually means a lot to me because for those of you who know Hyperlight Drifter, this was kind of an homage to the pixel art style, because Drifter started in pixel art, and then, as you guys know, Solar Ash was Heart Machine's transition from pixel art to 3D. And then after Solar Ash, as you know, Breaker, which is kind of like the successor to Hyperlight Drifter, quote unquote. Yeah, here's some more mechanical stuff. You can go one more, actually. That was the concept by more mechanical stuff. Like I mentioned actually a little bit earlier, I actually didn't know how to do hard surface stuff, and having that mentor meant like a ton to me. So, like imagine, I'll get to that later on, but getting to a studio and then someone telling you like, oh, you're gonna make the Destiny chest, the things every player will see when they go through the game, and I'm like, I just got here, why are y'all giving this to me? Being able to make basically hero pieces like this, like you see this from anywhere in the world, wherever you are in any of the different subsections of any of the procedurally generated worlds we have. So it feels surreal to be a part of just being able to contribute to something that is that grandiose, no matter where you are in the game, especially once again not being in the industry for that long. Them being able to entrust me to make things that are that impactful to the story and game as well. More mechanical stuff. I made this as well on one of our war machines. So these are like broken down things in the world. Once again, homage to Drifter. There was like little ones of these in the first game, and it feels good to. Actually, I'll talk about that a little bit. While I've been modeling stuff, we sometimes don't have like direct one-to-one concept for everything. So I've been giving a lot of creative directions while I've been at the studio, which feels amazing. So it's like, oh, how would you think this would look in universe? So I get to incorporate a bit of like myself into it, while like going back to Drifter, I'm like, oh, does that look like it fits in the world, et cetera, et cetera. So this was actually the first hard surface thing I did at the studio. And to this day, it's still in the game and hasn't been retouched. So I felt good. I was like, did I do that good? But I just got there. Some organic stuff I've done as well. I absolutely adore doing foliage. And at the beginning of the project, we weren't sure what our pipeline would be. So we were doing a lot of hand painting only, as opposed to PBR, procedurally like substance painter, etc. So at the beginning, it was like, what looks good? Are we going to have like more watercolory stuff or like highlights, etc.? So like determining like what fits in the world the most, and also like how fast we can get through the pipeline and crank out a bunch of art to get what we need in a certain amount of time. But yeah, these are one of my favorite ones as well. I made like I was basically told to. What makes the equivalent of like hair in game? Because this is literally like a bush, like hair plant. So I actually looked up how character artists approach making hair cards for stuff like that, and I had to do that background to pull this off, which is wild as an environment artist. So yeah. I guess we're going through more organic stuff. You can keep going. More trees I made. Some ivy. I don't really be specific, but but yeah, that's me and what I do at Art Machine. Yeah.
Do you guys mind if I talk a little bit more about the process of Miles real quick?
Yeah.
Cool. If you don't mind, we can play the video real quick on mute. Or just low volume, because I know it was loud. But yeah. So when creating Miles, a lot of the things, because technically it's a sequel, right? Like we've already had a base from the first Spider-Man game. One of the things I really wanted to put into Miles was trying to find the way that Miles would do certain actions. So a lot of the actions in here had a lot of thought into how would Peter do it, someone that at this point in our times everyone's pretty familiar with, and trying to figure out what would be a way that Miles would do it. And that came through with a lot of his swinging, just trying to figure out if I was a teenager and I got these powers, what would I do? And half the time it's like, I don't know what I would do. And I wanted Miles to feel like that. And that even went into one of the tricks that he did, where if you're doing a trick, there's one trick where he just kind of shrugs, and I didn't know what to make, so it got in the game. So I just made him shrug. But I also feel like that spoke to his character, where he's just like trying to think of any and everything that he can do and putting that into his style. And I feel like that was felt. Hopefully it was successful. But I really wanted him to feel inexperienced and different from Peter. And it's funny looking into what I was taking from inspiration, because I took from my personal life, but also looking at football players, looking at parkour athletes. But then it got to a point where I was like, well, I've seen a lot of this stuff before, and I wanted to do something different. I know for me, a lot of times I want to see stuff that I've never seen before. So that ended up leading me to looking into indoor skydiving. And there's a whole world of competition in indoor skydiving, and it is one of the most amazing things I've seen on YouTube and just looking at, and that's where a lot of the body mechanics for Miles' tricks came from. And it's just really interesting to see like how people can like move their legs a certain way in midair, and that because of the way they move their leg, it twists them, and incorporating that into Miles and how he swings and all the tricks he does and everything. And I feel like it really made him feel different from Peter, simply because Peter felt a lot more polished, a lot more experienced, and kind of knew what he was doing. And even though they were doing the same action, a lot of those actions felt a little bit more, I don't want to say like insecure, but unsure of what he's doing. But it was something that I feel like was felt when playing the game. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's a little bit of setup for this one. So this is a clip from back when I used to work at High Res Studios. For those of you that don't know, they worked on a couple of different games. I think the biggest game that they worked on was Smite. And so I got to do a lot of different things on that game. I told you guys earlier that I joined the industry as a level designer, but I also learned 3D art, environment art, not to the extent of Danny here, but so basically I built, actually let me rewind a little bit. So Smite is like a mobile game, so there's only one map for that game. And so I was the original level designer for Smite. I built the first Conquest map for Smite, but you know, if you're a level designer and there's only one level, I'm like, all right, well, y'all please don't fire me, because like I can do other stuff. And so that's when I joined the environment art team and started making some assets. But then a position opened up for character design or god design on Smite. So I actually got to, I joined the design team and got to kind of create these gods, these characters, all the way down to like their abilities and everything. And so I actually learned a lot through that process of like interacting with all these different departments. So you know, I already had level design and 3D art, but then I got to interact with VFX, because it's like we have to figure out just the overall encompassing character. So like how they look, how they talk, how they move, all of that. And so getting to work on those characters for Smite was really cool. And so part of that was actually writing the script for the like dialogue for like call outs whenever you're in combat. So since it's a MOBA game, we had this whole system called a VGS system where you could just put in these commands really quick and it'd be like, oh, right lane, left lane. So we got to write the script for those characters. And so I would go and, read the lore for the god and figure out like, okay, maybe they would say this or maybe they would say that. And then so once we got, the like core characters down and everything, we started to do skins. And so we had opportunities to do all of these different skins. And so I remember at the time, I think I was watching Boondocks. And and I don't know, it was basically like I remember watching an episode with a pimp named Slickback. And so I had the opportunity to write the script for a skin. There's a guy in the game called Agni, and there's a skin called Swagni. And so so I got to write, all the dialogue and scripts, but not only that, I got to sit in on the VO like recordings and all that stuff. So I got to hear the auditions, and I was like, nah, he need to sound a little bit more like Cat Williams, like. But I got to sit in on all that. I got to work with the audio engineer, Chris Rickwood. He's a real cool dude. He's been doing audio for them for a minute. But yeah, just getting a chance to sit in on those audio sessions and everything and to help like direct was just a really cool experience. And so this is just kind of a little clip of some of the audio from the script that I got to write.
Don't make me break these gators off of your narrow behind. See, the difference between you and me is I make this look good. I'm gonna say a prayer for you. Dear gods, please give them the wisdom to recognize that they are way too weak to be going up against me. You play with fire, you might get burned. Your mama's so big she takes up 2 lanes and the jungle. I'm not OP, I'm OG. My swag is too strong to be joking around.
Yeah, that was just, a little clip from, a little bit of the stuff I've got a chance to touch. And yeah, over the years, it's been really cool, going on from Hi-Res Studios to Gearbox Software. I got to work on Battleborn and Borderlands 3. And then now I'm working on a game called Wayfinder. It's an action RPG. And you'll probably see a couple of things from our next question. But that was just a little bit from some of the stuff I've gotten to touch over the years.
While you're on that topic, KP, do you want to use this time to just sort of talk about how you advocate for positive Black representation in your work? Yeah.
So it's really just like I try and just bring my full self whenever I work on anything, and so it's just like I try and make sure that like if there's any kind of lore or reference or anything, I try to stay true to that, especially if it's dealing with anything with Black culture. And so I can kind of answer this a little bit, but like, oh, you got the slides up here. Okay, yeah. So so this is from Wayfinder, and so this is like one of the first main characters. It's funny because early in development on Wayfinder, we were really going to do fully customizable characters, and that's kind of standard with like RPGs and stuff like that. And I remember at one point, because we were using one of the guys, they called him Vanilla Ice. It was just default white dude, and it was just like you use it for everything. So all the NPCs, like everyone, like characters, they all were Vanilla Ice. And so I remember once at some point I was just like, where are Black people at? Like we don't have Black people in this game. But like it all kind of came together where we made a decision to go into making like just full characters with personalities and everything. And at that point, we hadn't really solidified what these characters look like or anything like that. And so I think I just remember being in on a session with Joe Mad And, you know, we sit down and create these characters and everything. It's like, oh, it'd be dope if they did this and that did that. And so I'd already kind of designed out some of these characters. And so this is actually the first concept for Silo that I got. Joe just like sent it over to me, and I was like, oh shit, he's black. Like, for real? I kind of got like choked up because you know, it's just like I expected to have to, you know, fight for that, but then, you know, seeing that and seeing the care that they were trying to, you know, give to that was really cool, because I was this close to sending him, like, because I was looking at the hairstyles, right, and I was like, all right, we need to have some more distinct black hairstyles. And so it's like, I know if y'all been in a black barbershop, you got the little diagram and everything. I was this close to sending it over to him, but then he hit me with this. He was like, actually, we're commissioning out some really dope black concept artists to do some like hairstyles and everything. So I think one of them, if anybody knows Nicholas Draper Ivy, I think he got commissioned to do some like hairstyles and stuff like that. And so yeah, even though I'm not super close to that part of the development, it was cool being like just it was cool being in on that. And so yeah, this is just kind of some of the shots for some of the styles and stuff that he'll have once the game releases. But yeah, it was really just really cool to kind of be a part of that, and especially for Silo to be one of the first characters in Wayfinder. So yeah.
Now I'm going to combine this question. Thank you all so much for showing your work and the stuff that you're working on. Now, not many people may know this, but we owe a lot to our path in industry to the one and only Jerry Lawson, who is one of the first black game developers in this industry. He's a black video game engineer. He's notable for maybe Fairchild F, I believe. And without him, we wouldn't have the cartridge for our video games. So we owe a lot to him, and we honor him during the Black in Gaming Awards. With that being said, since Jerry paved the path for us to be here, how do you go about paving a path for others to get here?
Okay, so for me, it's definitely trying to make games, especially games writing, more accessible. If you check out my portfolio, the week before this, I actually created a resource called the Games Narrative Resource Sheet. It's a Google Sheet, completely free, totally accessible, that has over 100 different resources on how to get into games writing, and some resources that are more about game development in general. There's things that show like what's the pipeline games look like, what does like a script writing portfolio look like, what does it look like to make a cutscene, or what does it look like to make item descriptions. So just making all of these resources like publicly available, so that way there's not a bar to entry, because I know when I first started out, it was impossible to find anything like, oh, what is narrative design, what is games writing? So making that more accessible so future black games writers can have an easier time and achieve even more than we have.
Yeah. I'm gonna need that too. I'm one of the community managers for Black in Gaming on their Discord, so I help out with that. I've been helping out for a couple of years now, so I would say that's one of the things that virtually have been trying to give back as far as time and cultivating a safe community for us in the industry to work together and collaborate and support each other. So that's been a big thing for me since I joined making games in general. When I used to live in Seattle, we started a group up there that was physical groups of like game devs in Seattle to get together. A lot of folks up there deal with a lot of crazy stuff in the Seattle area, unfortunately. So it was really helpful to have people that understood each other to help each other out. And so continue to do that kind of work as I can, as well as working with Danielle in LA, and as well as Mia in LA with like some of the local things that are happening around there for the Black community in the LA area, as well as sort of hosting events and stuff like that to have people collaborating and knowing each other. And then with the Game Collective group I'm working with, we're all like diverse groups and trying to push the narrative of bringing our culture to the forefront of actual experiences that we're working on. So that's, that's basically kind of creating the spaces, essentially, is like a lot of the things for me. Yeah.
Piggybacking off of, with Tim, the last part of that as well, I'm very, very passionate about setting up community spaces, whether it's in person or online. But since moving to LA, I'm so glad to be surrounded by people who are passionate about doing the same thing. Tim and Mia, who are super, super local, and we try to do things near us or just in general the LA area. I'd love to explain further, but that's TBD. But I try to do the same thing online. A couple years back for GDC, the Games Developers Conference, I started a game dev Discord called the Peeps Discord, and this was before we had any, it was kind of like when Discord was still taking off. It was 2019, 2018. And I didn't know of any game dev Discords, and I'm like, why don't we have anything like that, right? Let's all get together, etc. So it was to make something like that, as well as have a space for not only women, but people of color, and then just devs in general, to link up at GDC, because walking around by yourself is not great. Especially as a student, not only for safety, but a lot of people go there, like I mentioned, to make connections, right? And it's lonely to do that by yourself. So I wanted to reach out and do that. And I made a post on Twitter, just hey guys, I want to make a space like this. Feel free to join. And that just super blew up and took off. I did not expect that. Now I run a Discord with almost 1,000 people in it, alongside a couple of friends of mine who are now moderators. And I wanted the description of our Discord to harp on the fact of no, this is an inclusive, diverse space. Then I don't see a lot of other ones that do that, unless it is specifically catered for Black in gaming, or things that are specific to certain ethnicities or things adjacent, LGBTQ, etc. So I wanted this one to be kind of open to everyone, but also no, this is a safe space. We're be cool here, etc. So it's been wild to be a part of that space, and I've had a lot of students from not only my university, but several students who majored in from other colleges throughout the country and around the world. Actually, we have a couple people from different countries in there too, who are different time zones, etc. Who just come and hang out, support each other, and it feels surreal to have a big community and be a part of so many things where people can support each other and have those avenues to support each other no matter where you are across the world, which is surreal. I'm so glad we have those avenues now. We have social media, we have Discord, etc. So it just feels really good. One more bullet point for me is I love being a part of teaching classes. Right out of college, I would teach classes, actually in coding and art, because they're whoa, Black women who codes, and I'm yeah, we need more of us there. But yeah, I enjoy coding in C#, so I teach a couple classes there. And specifically, they never really had any, I went to George Mason University in DC, Maryland area, and they didn't have any women to teach, especially underrepresented groups in the areas. And there's a couple of women, girls camp groups, and they reached out to me to teach those as well. And we just need more of those things. I want to help with more things in LA and just continue those avenues. So don't be afraid to start and be a part of those spaces, because everyone is here to lift each other up and get you to where you need to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I am originally from Savannah, Georgia, and so whenever I go back home, I go back to my high school to go and speak, because I feel especially for me, if I would have seen someone that looked like me come and speak in my class and say, oh, you can actually make video games, and it could be a career, I feel I would have found out a lot sooner what I wanted to do, I feel like. And so I try to make that a point whenever I go home to visit family, just to go, speak at my old high school. But then also I've gotten invited to come back and speak at SCAD. So I try and make sure that, especially when I do that too, I leave all my contact information and just, leave myself open for questions, because, it's tough. It's tough to get in. And so, yeah, any way I can help impart any kind of knowledge or anything like that, yeah, I'm just always down to do that. So, you know, with that, and then also with like Black in Gaming, you know, I'm trying to lurk a lot less on like, you know, Discords and stuff like that. But yeah, at least now with this, I've gotten to do the fireside chat and everything, and then now, you know, doing this at at DreamCon. So yeah, yeah, it's just been really cool being able to you know, do that, and then I hope I can, you know, do more of that in the future. So.
Similar to KP, when I go back home, I'm originally from Florida. When I go back home, I go back to my high school. I hit up a few middle schools, talk to them, kind of tell them what game development's like. Do a lot of answering questions. It's a very secretive industry for the most part. Unless you're in it, it seems like a lot of people don't know exactly what goes into it and how many different types of job opportunities there are. So kind of shining a light on that. I also put my face whenever Insomniac's like, hey, we need someone to do this. I'm fine putting myself out there. I know not everyone wants to, but I personally feel like kind of what KP was touching on, if you're able to see someone that looks like you at somewhere, it's a lot easier to apply there. And I've seen it work firsthand. One of my best friends, Darius, now works at Insomniac. He told me when we met, he was like, yeah, you're part of the reason I saw your face in this video, and that inspired me to apply. So I think putting ourselves out there, I think putting ourselves out there will have a big influence, just because a lot of times you don't see us in those spaces. When I look up behind the scenes videos, I don't see anybody that looks like me. So if I'm able to do that little bit, I feel like, and I reach one person, then it's worth it. So.
Well, thank y'all so much for coming. We appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Thank you to our panelists, to Black in Gaming. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for coming out.
Yeah, thank you.